Yes, so being a clinical psychologist, I thank God because mental health is a whole, it takes care of all the aspects of life. We have physical, we have psychological, we have social. But then the theme for this is crowned with wisdom. And like we said, when you are a woman of wisdom, you don't just speak. And like the proverb that one says, you know, there are people, when they say something, you feel like your intestines have been scattered. Yani ni Kiswahili mtu anasema nikasikia tumbo ni kama imekatika because you said something that really hurt somebody. Yeah, something deep. Yeah, and that is not wisdom. You think about what you are saying and you avoid a lot of confrontation and slandering, and because the Bible in Luke 6:45 teaches that out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And the choice of words also reveals a heart that is already saturated with truth. You cannot speak wisdom if there is nothing in your heart. And so our heart is something that we need to guard so that what we say can be nurturing. I've seen children who come for therapy and they say, no, my mom told me this. There is one who said, my mom told me I am nothing, I have a big head, I don't. Where did the big head come from? Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes when, like I pick what Pastor Angela said, sometimes we ask children, and Mary knows in some of the art therapy, you ask a child to draw their family. And so there was one child who drew the mother with a very big head, and the hair. Everyone like, wait, what is happening here? And then the father was lying on the door, so kumbe he is drunk. So I asked the baby to tell me what is going on in this house. And to say, my mom quarrels. If she opens her mouth, we will run to the bedroom. Yeah. No wisdom. Yeah. Why should you scare small children? And I think this was a 6-year-old. You know, they say. And so since sometimes they can't speak, they express when they draw. And that's why when they come for therapy, you give them so many things to write, to draw, and they tell you a story. And say, now, why is your dad there? He's always drunk, and when he comes to the house, when you are eating, we stop eating. Yeah, because of quarreling and beating us up. So when there is wisdom, you regulate the words that come out of your mouth. And in Proverbs 15:2 says that the tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, and she doesn't just recite facts, she frames them so they nourish others. Yeah, so your words are supposed to nourish. When you speak, somebody feels like, you know what, I am alive again. But there are times when you tell somebody something and they feel like, you know what, I just want to die. Because how can you say something like that? And so that is where the Proverbs 4:43 says that in 4:23, that above all, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So our heart is very important. Yeah. And so when we have a lot of bitterness, we have a lot of anger, we have rage, we have envy, and so our thoughts are connected with how we feel, and then it affects how we behave, and that influences the people who are around us. So it's very important for you to guard your heart as a person, because the Proverbs 4:23 says guarding your heart. That helps us with the emotional wisdom, so that what comes out of your mouth. And I read a quote somewhere that says that anger is like when you take poison and you expect somebody else to die. You are the one who've drank the poison, but you want somebody else to die. That tells you how dangerous anger is, and bitterness and rage and envy that we carry from our heart. And so our heart, everything, most of the things start from our heart. You know, when I see that person, I just feel like, you know what, why are you shivering when you see a pastor? When you see a certain lady walking there because of the envy, you're like, you know what, I just feel like closing my eyes when I see her passing. My heart tells me this is not a nice person. Your heart now is a post-mortem. Like, why can you do? You are dissecting somebody and you know that this person, my heart is telling me something. There's something wrong about this lady, but I don't know. Why are you bothering yourself with somebody? The things that you don't know. Yeah. So it's very important. So preaches, but I always want to sit down and just listen to him because of what he says and how he says it. And so if you have somebody in your family who can sit down and listen to you, that means you have wisdom and they will always want to hear something, a word or two from you. Now I'll want to connect that with mental health. Our mental health is very important. Like WHO says that mental health is whereby the individual recognizes their abilities. You recognize what you are able to do, okay? An individual recognizes their abilities. You are able to cope with the normal stresses of life. There are so many stresses of life in your house, at workplace, everywhere, in your marriage, and even in church sometimes. Yeah, I have seen people in... I went to some church sometime to talk and to speak, and another lady, I think she lost the husband, and she was a praise and worship. And so I think the other worshipers now, because I think they were married, they started excluding her. She just realizes that, oh, there was a meeting. And so they didn't want to associate with somebody who is single or divorced in their worship. And so she had to leave. And so she's there seated and her team is here and she's asking herself, so was it a problem? Was it my mistake that I'm single? So that you don't take their husband, this single person. And I felt very bad. Actually, I spoke to the pastor, like, you need to do something about this thing. Why should you stop ministering and your purpose because you lost your husband or because you are single? And so I think sometimes we do things that are really hurtful to people, and so it can affect somebody's mental health. And so you are able to deal with normal stresses of life, and then you work productively and fruitfully and make a contribution to the community. If you are a mother, you have children, you are able to wake up, prepare them to school, check. If they are sick, take them to the hospital. If they have a toothache, you take them to the dentist. But when you don't have a good mental health, you will not be able to recognize the needs that your children have. They will be there with a toothache. There's a girl who told me that I don't know, I think she had a slight accident and her hand broke. But so she was supposed to do a minor surgery. And he said the parents didn't take her to the hospital. And so I had to intervene and call the parents and say, you cannot do this to your child. So I want you to take this child to school, to the hospital. I don't care where you are. I think the father was in one of these countries. And actually they organized and the girl went and did the operation and her hand came back to normal. But they were just living there and the mother is there and she couldn't tell that actually this is an accident and this child needs to go for surgery. But then she did that. So when you're not mentally healthy, you're not able to support your children, your husband. If you are in ministry, you neglect your ministerial duties because you're not mentally healthy. There was a time I passed somewhere, the child was crying, a very small baby, like I think 4 or 3 years. And so when I was walking, that really bothered me. Like, why is this child, was he abandoned? Like, people left them alone in the house and they went. So I decided to peep. Peeping is not good behavior. So, yeah, so because I had to look at the other side of the fence, so I said, you know what, it's okay. It's not very good behavior to peep. So when I peep, actually, I thought the child was alone. To my surprise, the mother was seated there, and the baby is here with her. And the baby has cried for, I think, over 30 minutes, and the mother is there. She couldn't even move or even hold the baby. I was like, so when you are, so I called her. I didn't know who she was, but I just called her and said, you know, the baby is crying. I don't know whether she was thinking about end times or Jesus coming or. That was deep thought. I shouted, so I told her to pick the baby. And so when mental health is very important, because you will not function, you will not do your duties if you are not mentally okay. You will not do your duties. And so then our mental health, so it affects how we think, how we feel, and that goes back to the Proverbs, that what we allow into our hearts, what we think, our thoughts, affects how we feel, and that affects how we act, our action. And so it's very important to regulate, to structure how we think about most of the things, even about our lives and all that. In the Bible didn't have a lot of terms to relate to mental health, but it used words like downcast, and that is in Psalms, broken-hearted, troubled, miserable, despairing, mourning is also used in the Bible, and grief. And Job used the word turmoil. All that brings out pain, when you are in a lot of pain and bitterness and distress. And so most of this and we see some of the characters in the Bible, like Jonah. In Jonah 4:3 say that, now, O Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live. That is a sense of hopelessness and having suicidal ideation. In Job 3:26, Job said, you know, I like Job because he didn't want to keep quiet, but he had to express anyway. He said, I have no peace, no quietness. I have no rest, but only turmoil. Job was in pain, physical pain, which affected all his life. But I think what he didn't want is to rebuke and curse God. Job decided, you know what, let me just express how I feel anyway. Yeah. And Elijah in 1 Kings 4:5 says that I've had enough, Lord. He said, take my life, I am no better than my ancestors. And this is where Jezebel was pursuing Elijah. And he said, you know, I just want to die. That is the place where hopelessness comes in. And then David, also you look at 2 Psalms 12, 15, 23, Psalms 32, 1, 7. There are many verses that talk about how he was troubled and despaired, and he was also going through grief. And so there are many people in the Bible. Saul was also going through a lot of mental health problems, and King David himself. You know, when you are unfaithful, your mental health is not even closer to any good, because you are trying to hide many things. You are the king and you are cheating. You're somebody's wife. And then your baby dies. So you grieve and you're the king. And so everybody is like, oh, now the king is. And the workers came in and they found David wailing. Yeah. So what are some of the signs of mental health that even in general population, so both women, men, children, see that? How do you notice that there is a problem? When you are persistently sad and when you feel hopeless, you know, hopeless, I think in Kiswahili it says kukosa matumaini. You have lost hope. You feel like now it is over and I'm done. Sometimes your mood changes, your energy levels, your appetite changes, you don't feel like eating, and then difficulty sleeping. Either you sleep too much or too little, and so people don't have enough sleep. And then sometimes you gain weight or you lose weight without any explanation. You are not dieting, but you just lost weight. There was a girl who, on social media, I was actually supposed to see them, and she lost weight from 54 to 27 because the teacher, I don't know, one of the teachers in their school said that they look like the big five. Her with her friends. You know the big five animals? Elephant is there. Which other animal? Lion. Hippopotamus. Rhino. And a buffalo. How do you tell a child that they look like the big five? Hey. So you just somehow even one animal. Yeah, so that was too much. So then because of that, now she developed eating disorders. You know some of the eating disorders, anorexia nervosa, there is bulimia, and the others. And so that was critical. You know, when you go to the hospital, and the reason why they do triage is they take your blood pressure, weight, they ask you how much you weighed like a month or two. Because they want to see. Sometimes when you want to do surgery, an emergency surgery, and you don't have the weight that is required, you'll be asked to go once and eat. Then you come back. That's why she said you need to eat good food. Pastor said. Have you ever encountered somebody cooking managu, and you encounter carrots in the managu? How do you cook food like that? You know, you are traumatizing your body. So like Pastor said, you cook good food. Not just a combination of things. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, so for her, she had to, be admitted in the hospital, for like 1 year, because now that was critical, weight loss, and she was an A student. She was in a national school. So I'll still follow up with that because it is in the media. I was supposed to see her, but I think because of our time, I couldn't see her. Then we have something that alcohol use. Nowadays, I think Mary knows this. There is a book we call the DSM-5 for diagnosing these mental problems. If you look at the researches that have been done nowadays, sometimes back, men used like to be the ones taking a lot of alcohol and drugs. Now the ladies are here. You are catching up. Yeah? The prevalence rates, if you do even in some of the universities and general population, the prevalence rate for women and men using drugs, alcohol is almost the same. Then you realize that there's something, a trajectory that is changing. It's not like before. There is a pattern that was not there before. And so people are using drugs and alcohol and other things to cope. Our ladies, our students, when you see in some of the universities, the girls smoking this e-cigarette. Yeah. You're like, where is this smoke coming from? Then after the smoke has disappeared, you see a very beautiful lady. You're like, what? It's so now they are catching up with the men, and I'm happy that the men, even now, the rate for taking alcohol is reducing. So the ladies are the ones who need to do something to work on the alcohol and the drugs. And sometimes you use it to cope because we don't know how to cope with the stress and whatever that we are going through. And then we have something that we call hallucination. And who knows what hallucinations are? You hear voices, you see things that you are the only one who is seeing. Sometimes you have a conversation with 3 people who are nowhere. And you are asking people in your house, when you people are not seeing. And that becomes a point of quarreling and conflict. Because now people are not getting. Yeah, people are not understanding what is going on. And so you start seeing voices. And that is one of the symptoms of one of the mental disorders that also affect women and men that we call schizophrenia. Yeah, and that one you need medication. And so there was There was a boy somewhere who, because of the hallucination, the voice told the boy to take a knife, and he went and took a knife, and then the voice told him to chop his penis and the testicles, all of it on the floor. Yeah. And then there was also a woman who the voice told her to go and take a knife and he cut the grandchild, this part. What is it? This? Yeah, the wrist for both hands. And so you were taken to the hospital, and of course, when you commit such, either when murder or something, you are supposed to be taken to a mental hospital to do assessment so that they see whether you are okay. And so that is the effect of hallucination. And sometimes also when there is postpartum depression for the women who you give birth, sometimes they even kill their own children. Yeah, and I've seen so many cases of that. Or they completely neglect that they don't want to even breastfeed. Yeah, there was one of the cases of women who completely refused, even when she got better, she didn't want anything to do with that baby. And so the sister had to take care of the baby. Mental health. And sometimes because there was accumulation of issues that you've not dealt with. And so it blows up one of the days. And then moods, extreme moods, low and high, and sometimes that becomes one of the symptoms of bipolar. You know, you've heard of bipolar? Yes, we have bipolar 1, we have bipolar 2. And so when extremely, you can sleep for 3 hours and you are telling people you've rested. You do the house, you can come and clean this church within 1 hour. And you're like, wow, good job. Where is this energy coming from? And then now you're the same person next week, your pastor is telling you, yeah, we have visitors, and you've slept the whole week without waking up. But she was cleaning last time. Yeah, so that is the extreme mood, elevation of mood. We also have the problems with concentration and memory and inability to think clearly, and forgiveness. There was a day when I was doing my PhD, I said now, because I was in the final stages of my dissertation, the supervisor gave me corrections, and I said, this one I'll do very quickly. I sat down for 3 hours. And I completed and I submitted my thesis. I didn't have a car that time. So I went to Kenyatta, I took a matatu. And then I paid. Then the person gave me some refund. I was like, Ngong, I am supposed to use 100. He said, no, this is not the car matatu to go to Ngong. I'm like, well, so I panicked. So I came, he told me, you get to Prestige, you get out, and then you take another matatu to Ngong. So me, I alighted. And then I took another matatu. And I saw it was for Ngong again. And then I get to Nakumat Junction. The matatu goes to Kawangware. I'm like, Simamisha. Because he started saying, Kawangware, 20 bob. May I say, the pana, I am not going to Kawangware. So now, me, I lighted, and then I just sat down. There was a place there. So to orient myself in time, place, and person. To ask myself, who am I? Where was I going? And where am I? Hey. And so I now was very intentional, because now there were no other matatus to go any other place. So I knew the one that I'll get into was, so I went, then I go to the house, and then I decided to cook. I cook very good food. And then, no carrots in the managu. So then I said, let me watch a movie, and then, no, I ate. I cooked, I ate, and then I decided to go and watch a movie. So I watched a movie, and it was nice. Then I said, now, because I had already cooked, let me go and eat. So when I go to the kitchen, me, I'm like, who ate this food? because I am alone. So then I went and sat down, then I remembered that I ate. Yeah. So then I called my therapist. I said, just book for me an emergency session. And then we have loss of interest in activities. And so sometimes the loss of interest, it can be maybe you liked maybe going to church, you liked going to your chama, you liked watching TV and many other activities, but then now you lost interest. And sometimes that also affects interest for those who are in an intimate relationship, your sexual also interest, and so it changes completely. And then somatic complaints. Somatic complaints, we have mental disorders that are called somatic symptoms and related disorders. That one is common among women and children and adolescents. So you find a woman say, my head, like before they greet you, the sickness is introduced. My head, my pain, my knee, my back here, my chest, It's like you are introducing the sickness before you even say hi to somebody. The whole body. And so you go to one hospital to another one. Nothing they find. They do MRI. They go and do a scan. Sometimes there was a lady who they had to get some fluid from the spinal cord. Spinal fluid. To just see, because now they've checked. There was nothing physical. And you are in pain. And it was psychological. And so when there is so much stress, psychological stress, the body converts to physical. And so then they come out as physical symptoms. And so you have a headache. You even have diarrhea. You have a chest pain. And you feel a lot of pain. You have a knee pain, back pain, everywhere. You have a headache. So it comes as physical symptoms. And so they are called somatic. Soma is body. Yeah, and so that is very common among women. I have one of my uncles, their wife, there is no day you will have a conversation saying, even my hands, even my back, for many years, I've never understood until I did psychology. And then some of the sign is suicide and some suicidal thoughts. Suicide is very common nowadays. Like many people, when there's too much and you feel like, I don't think there's something I can do about this. That is the place of hopelessness. You feel like there's nothing more you can do. And so that is where the suicide thoughts creeps in. Yeah, like this guy, Elijah in the Bible, he got to that point of being hopeless. We also had this one who betrayed Jesus. Judas was guilty. He got depressed and got hopeless. And so too much guilt is also one of the symptoms of depression. And he committed suicide. And so it's good to talk when you feel like there's too much. And so women, why women? So sometimes most of the mental problems like anxiety, depression, are internalizing disorders. And so it is inward. So men sometimes, because the personality disorder like antisocial personality disorders, others are externalizing. And so men let out. And so the common disorders are the ones that are externalizing. So women are common disorders among women is also depression and anxiety because it is internalizing. And so you take so much in. And then sometimes also because of domestic violence and rape cases among women, sometimes for economic status, financial problems. There's a security guard in our school who I was seeing a client yesterday, and she was coming to open for me the place where I was supposed to go do therapy. She told me, I think it's good for a woman to have their money. I think she looked at me. So she told me, I think it is good for women to have money. I said, yes, it is good. Even if you are earning your 5,000, it is your 5,000. Yeah. You are able to buy tomatoes and sukuma and managu. Yeah. And pay rent and carrot. Yes. So economic status, it actually puts you down when you have your children, you're not able to get food, you're not able to pay their school fees. And so now that also targets you. So you internalize and you think so much about how unlucky and unfair the environment is and everybody. And then sometimes women are not able to also access mental health services independently. We have also extended family, and sometimes the in-laws. She talked about visiting somebody. You talked about when you're visiting someone, what you carry. Sometimes you have problems with the in-laws. I don't know whether it was a story, it was true, but there is somewhere I read that the man told the wife, let's go visit our mom. So the lady assumed that the mother is now the husband's mother, the mother-in-law. So the lady, so the husband told her, okay, let's go. Okay, buy some few things you are taking to mom. And she bought you 2 cabbages. It was the what? 2 cabbages and I don't know, sugarcane or something. And so now that is for taking to this mother who we don't know, but for the lady we were going to see the mother-in-law. And then you're like, the direction is not going. This is not where your mother lives. So where are we going? So he decided, I'm not dying with this question. So let me ask, where are we going? Which mother? And so the man said, we are going to see your mom. We stop here. There's a supermarket here. Where did you want to take cabbages? Where? So sometimes when you visit somebody, regardless, whether it is your sister or your brother or your sister-in-law, don't start from your heart. No, I don't even like that person. Let me just take 1 packet of milk and bread. Yeah. So why should you take something that you don't want your mother to have? And some of these conflicts, these are some of the very small things, but they cause depression in the marriages because of something small. Why are you doing this to your mother? Why are you doing things to your father and not me? And why? Yeah. And then some of the pressured multiple roles. So you are a mother, you are studying. So I was also asking her whether when she was coming to school, this is where she lives. So she clarified that she lives in South C. B. Yeah, because I can imagine coming from USIU to here, you have a family, you have a church, and you have school. Yeah, that's a lot. So women have multiple roles that they play that can make them susceptible to some of the mental problems. Sexual abuse. I've also seen women who've gone through sexual abuse when they were small, and they never talked about it. They are married 20 years, 30 years in marriage, and just something changed. And so when they go to therapy and they go back to what happened when I was 5 or when I was 6 years. And that is what has come to change their marriage, because now they are almost going for divorce because of something that was not dealt with. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, and abandonment. So you've never processed it. Sometimes gender discrimination. We also have unpaid and low employment jobs and unemployment, emotional, sexual abuse. There was a time we did a research among women somewhere in this country, and My work as a psychologist there was to check whether the ladies were ready to do the research. And so I was calling them, and then they come to the hospital. So one of the ladies was expectant. Is that a more respectful word, or pregnant? Expectant. Yeah. So she was actually almost due for. And so when I was interviewing, somebody, you are seeing hopelessness in somebody. Very hopeless. Even how she walks, how she talks, there is no energy. And she was almost giving birth. So I asked her, because I hear that when you're pregnant, the baby kicks, I don't know, place in the stomach or in the womb. So I asked her, how is the baby? Is the baby playing? I said, I don't know. I asked her, you don't know? You don't know whether the baby is playing? So when she actually they had to do an emergency admission, and there was a stillbirth. Stillbirth is, the baby is dead. Yeah. Yeah, they come out dead. It's different from miscarriage. So stillbirth is after 20 weeks, like the baby can be bigger. Stillbirth, miscarriage is before 20 weeks. Yeah, so you see, the study was on intimate partner violence. There is sexual abuse in marriage, there is emotional abuse, and there is physical abuse. Some of the things that actually even put you down is the emotional abuse, because you just internalize it, you don't talk. And so this lady was in so much pain, and she was hopeless. She didn't even know she was carrying a human being in her. Baby died. Sometimes we have the unprocessed grief. Sometimes you have a miscarriage. There was a lady who had 5 miscarriages. And you are asking, okay, so the first miscarriage happened. There was the second one. And then there was the third. And they are following each other. What is going on? What is happening? Because sometimes you are in a marriage that is abusive, and you think that when you get pregnant, the man will change. Have you seen where you give excuses? Yeah. That, maybe when I get pregnant. And then now, because the abuse is there, it's not stopping. The baby, you miscarry. And then you don't process. You get pregnant again. The same cycle, 5 times. What are you even doing to your body? What is happening in your system? It's too much. And then you've not had time to process. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for our men, because we need men, by the way. We need men. Sometimes in the house, I want to change a bulb. And I look at it like, no, you. Somebody needs to change this bulb. So that is loss and grief. But then when you don't process, it becomes prolonged grief. And so you have a pile, so many losses that you have not processed. And so it's very important to like, after the first and second miscarriage, to take a break and like, whoa, what I need to think, what is going on? Yeah. And I think that is taking the pace slower is what people don't know. You get from this relationship. Have you seen people who break up today? And tomorrow they are in another relationship. And the other day, then again in another one. And on Saturday, they are getting married. And they've divorced in 1 week's time. What is going on? Yeah. There was somebody who told me they've been married for 30 days and now they want to divorce. 30 days. So I think it is very important. And that is where the psychologists, if you have people who've done psychology, some of the personality disorders come in. You don't want to be alone. And so immediately you break out of a relationship, you're already in another one. Because you don't know how to independently live and make some decision and solve some of the problems. And so you get into one of the relationship today, in another one, and I'm like, these people are really lucky. Like, you're in a relationship today, you break up tomorrow, and next week you're getting married. Yeah? No plan. people are very lucky. Yeah. And that's the same thing with the job pattern, the same pattern that also comes in some of the personality disorders. You are in a job 1 month, you leave it, and you go to another one, and in 1 year, and that's what psychologists do when they take history. They want to look at your stability. How many jobs have you changed within 1 year? And so you have somebody has 10 jobs, and they are very lucky because they are brilliant, but they can't sustain a job. So that is the time you need to even take your own history, by the way, and see, it is one, I am not doing very well as a person, and then you go for therapy. Some of the mental disorders like depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety are genetic. You can be predisposed genetically. And it's important to get information so that at least you learn how to make sure that you deal with the stresses before you now get the bipolar or depression, because you are actually predisposed genetically. And so you can handle some of the stresses so that you don't get that. And then we talked about the subsequent relationship breakout. Today you are in a relationship, tomorrow you are out. Tomorrow you are in a marriage, another one tomorrow, and you are out. And then isolation and loneliness, which is also very common. Being alone sometimes is not being lonely, but sometimes you can be with people and you feel lonely. And that's the value of having friends around you. And I think Pastor Angela talked about it. Sometimes we have having a long-term physical health conditions that also you can have mental problems that are due to a medical condition. And so feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. I wrote a book about low self-esteem because I realized that self-esteem is not only for the adolescent, also adults, because we like comparing ourselves in social media. We want to see what is going on. There was one of the celebrities who said she didn't have a car, and so that people think she has a car, she was buying some keys from somewhere to walk around with them. And now when Pastor Angela sees that, I'm like, even I don't have a car, I need to buy a car, you take a loan, because you want to look like that person. Pressure. And you say it was not true. Yeah. So some of the things we see on social media also affects all the people. Yeah. You see you visited your friend with your husband, for example, if you have a husband, you see a big screen TV, then you come at home and that becomes a source of, or even the fridge in this house, even the TV in that house, and you fight. And then we have parent-child relational problem. When you see child, you might think it is your child. Sometimes you still have problems with your parents. There are people who don't speak to their parents even 5 years, 10 years. And you think you are okay, mentally okay. My mom, you know she abandoned us. That was then. You can restore. That is why the Bible has a place for restoration, rebuilding. You restore the broken relationships. Yeah? So as much as you are avoiding your parents, that is taking a toll on you, and then it's affecting your mental health. So it's very important, even when they did some of these few things, you need to go back and find out. My mom, because I have 4 brothers, they were 5, and I'm the only one. So one of my brother passed on, so there are 4 brothers. So one day, my mom went to the hospital. They told her that her blood pressure is high. So she asked me, so I sent money. So my sister-in-law took her. So I asked my sister-in-law to ask Mama, why is her high blood pressure high? She didn't say. So my sister-in-law went and asked the doctor, is there anything that Mama has told you? So I told my sister-in-law to ask the doctor. Yes, so the doctor said, she's saying that one of her sons, so one of my brothers, has not talked to her, called her. He has not called her, I don't know, 3 days old. Pressure inaenda 250, what? So then I was the one to send the money to bring the pressure down. And I call her every day. So I call my mother every day. But her pressure is going up to 200 because of somebody else. And then I'm the one to bring it down with my money. So I told Mama, well, I told her, now you need to care about the ones who are calling you. Yeah. So that your pressure is stable. Yeah, stable. Asipokupigia, I will call you. Yeah, so. Yes, and so we've talked about unrealistic expectation and lack of communication. And I think even in her research, some of the issues that brings lack of satisfaction in relationships, in marriages, also among women, is lack of communication. You don't know how to communicate, and wisdom, like the wise woman. And so that's why it's very important to ask for wisdom and to know how to communicate with respect. Yeah, if you're asking, you're requesting for something, you're requesting with respect, with humility. Submission, people, I don't know why people think submission is, now you are very, no, submission is, I think, one of the most beautiful things because you're just humble. Even academic humility. Some of us, when we go to where we are going, people don't, our PhDs are not written here. I go to anywhere, I interact with children, I sit down with them in a therapy. I don't tell them, I have a PhD. We have to sit here. No. I don't go to the village churches and tell people, me, I have a PhD. For what? Who? Why? Yeah. So communication with humility, when you have humility, when you are humble, and David was, you go to the level of the people that you are. You need to calm down. And sometimes when you're talking to children, you have to go to their level. Yeah. But when you are here and they're here, they will leave you there. Yes, we've talked about some of the mental problems. We've talked about depression, which is very high and also common among women. And then we have physical violence, which that happens. There is sexual abuse, emotional abuse. We've talked about anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and the obsessive compulsive disorder. And we've talked about schizophrenia, and we've also mentioned substance use disorders, which is very common also among women. And now, what is also now connected with mental problems is lack of self-care. Angela said we have to eat very well. My mother, when your wife, pastor's wife, you have very many visitors, and so my mom used to treat visitors very well, and even until now. Even our friends will go to our home without us, and Mama will take chicken and fry very good food and give to our visitors. But my mother, she will not slaughter chicken if too when there is no visitor. So that was some times back. Until my cousin came and told Mama, you know, Pastor Reverend is in town now eating nyama choma in a restaurant. And you are here boiling msheveve. You guys know msheveve? We will slaughter chicken when your daddy comes. And my dad is eating chicken in town because the church was in town. So my cousin told her, hii ni upuzi. Slaughter, chukua kama hakuna mafuta, chamusha, kunywa supu. Jioni kama hawakuacha pesa ya kununua nyama, eat, karanga sukuma and you eat. That was teaching my mother self-care. You are reserving the best meals for visitors. Even vyombo. By the way, I don't know you guys have. My mother can use, this cooking oil called Kimbo, or this plastic. She can use that to take water, and the glasses are for visitors. And sometimes the women can use even plastic that it is broken to eat because you are reserving the best for visitors. Where are the visitors coming from? Where? When? So I told my mother, use them. I don't want to see you with these things. Use them. Ikipasuka, ikiisha. Yeah. But I wanted her to, you take her to the salon, but then the whole time her hair will be in a kitamba. She's rapping and like, mama, nini? Ati oh vumbi, but like vumbi inatoka wapi? So the hair will be wrapped until the day again she's going to do her hair. Like why? For what? For why? And how? So there was one of our pastors, I think she knows, she has taught Mary, she's called Dr. Marion, she's a pastor, and she has a church, and so she told me one day, you know, my church surprised me with a 10,000 voucher to go for massage. Because they realized that this pastor is doing a lot. And so just go and relax. You know, preparing a sermon until it comes with the Holy Spirit. You know, you have to prepare and pray, and then you read and listen and invite God and tell God, okay, so now let's read it together. You know, you have to do a lot. Yeah, so the church there, Mama needs to go for some self-care. So she went and did a massage. She came and told me, you know, I feel very nice. You even feel inspired. You know, even if my father was a pastor, I never had an opportunity to take some of the things they take here in Bele. So, so there is one day I was asked to preach about the Bible and mental health in another church. Then they brought some concoction. I don't know, it was lemon and something. And you see, when I sit down, I'm like, hey, this thing must be sweet. When I tasted, I told the pastor from today, siwezi tamani. So it was bitter lemon. Bitter, very bitter. Yeah, but it's good for the voice. So, self-care. There was a quote that I read. You know, self-care is when you do some nice things to maintain good health. And Esther is here. You will be doing some physical activities, yoga. But don't stop it here. You continue at home. There's a quote that I read somewhere by Jim Rohn. He said that, take care of your body because it is the only place you have to live. You see, the way you take care of your house, you're cleaning it, you make sure the curtains are okay, so that when visitors come. But then, most of the time, the way we take care of our houses is not what we do to our bodies. So we neglect. If you go to the salon, you will hear how some of the hairdressers gossip. Hey, mama nywele. Sijui amekaa naye 5 months. Why? It is better to do the matuta for Pastor Nganga. You know, like you've washed your hair na umefunga tu vizuri na umeweka vitu. Inakaa style than staying with hair for why? So it is not good. Even the people who go for pedicure. My body can't take a massage and pedicure because of my sensitivity of the skin. I can't even wash clothes myself and make chapati because of my skin. It's very sensitive. But sometimes when you go for massage, and the pedicure, the one that they scrub, hey, the ladies talked about people who have come there. Hey, wanashinda kama hiyo mguu ilikuwa ya hippopotamus. you have to take care of your body. Yeah. Just feel nice. I was complimenting the ladies we were with. Their nails are well done. And I was telling them that I do my own nails. I buy polish and I do. You see, you buy the top coat, base coat, and the color, and you apply. That's 300. I can't go to the salon and use 2,500. If you have the money, you go. Yeah. But don't stay with nails that looks like for a crocodile. Because I don't have money. This polish is 100, Bob. You can save kidogo 20, and then you go and buy. And then you do it in your house. I did it last night. Personally, this. I don't know whether I look nice. So sometimes taking care of a body doesn't need a lot of things. No. Yeah. In the 3rd John, chapter 1 and 2, it is written that, Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may, that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Yeah. Where is the new, this is the NIV. Beloved, I pray. Yeah, this one is very nice. My father used to give us every version of the Bible in the house. One of my brother will ask NIV, King James. Me will give me good news. Do you know that Bible? My dad. And he used to church at me because he used to love me. So when I read my version, like, that one is coming out nice. Good news is easy, simple is nice. Yes, King James has very nice. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Yes, you cannot meet and take responsibilities and do what God has ordained you to do if you are not also taking care of your health. So as your soul prospers, you also need to take care of your health. So, and you need to help yourself first. Even in church, sometimes the church ministers, you give so much. You do a lot. You give until your cup is empty. So you will not give people, you will not have something to give. And also that's the same with people, individuals, families, spouses, and all that. In Exodus 18, 14 to 27. Exodus 18, 14, 27. And this also about just self-care. And these are for people who have ministry teams and pastors and leaders. You can also use that. And the main theme is to delegate. Exodus says, so when Moses' father-in-law, who was the father-in-law for Moses? When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, what is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a difficulty, they come to me. I judge between me and another, and I make known and the statutes of God and his laws. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. It's not good for you also as a mother, as a person, to be running around the house the whole day, and then you ask people, even in this house, people are not even appreciating what I do. Yani Amoni, I have been cleaning, I have gone to here, and I've done this, and I've done. Who told you to do all those things? And you have other people in the house. If you are alone, it is okay. But I have seen parents who have children in the university, who have children in high school and primary school. And some of the primary school, they come in the evening, mama anasema viatu yeye ndo atapanguza uchafu. Kuambia kuchamushia mtoto maji asubuhi asubuhi ndio aende shule, unaenda kuchamshia mtoto maji moto. Mtoto ako class 8, form 2. Why? Then in the wakati eating, they don't clear the table. Mama will take care of it. And then you are asking people why they don't see what you do. And then now, all of a sudden, you're coming for therapy because you want your child to learn to be responsible, and you are now getting tired. Why? You are the one who has allowed this child to relax in that house. You are clearing the table and your 18, 15-year-old is there. You are chamusha water for them. Hot water to shower. So, I think when we were growing up, our mother will go. Yeah. She will go. You say, no, I'll come back. Yeah, okay. So you say, I'll come back, and so you have to. So when she comes back, we knew that she needs us to do so many things in the house. So another one has cleaned the house, another one has done ABCD, and so very quickly. So some of the things that can protect, and I think Pastor Angela talked about some of the protective factors, is having social support, which is very important. And then friends, just having friends to talk to, and then just connection. And being with people is also very important. That protects you from some of the mental health problems. These chamas that you go and talk is very helpful, and it is therapeutic. And you also, yes, spending time with God, reading the Bible. In Job 7:11, Job declares that, therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. That means that it is good to talk, just express how you feel. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. It's just finding purpose in what you do also as a person, being part of a social group, getting physical activities like what we are going to do is very important. Walk, you don't have to go to the gym and pay. You can be taking a walk in the evening, and that helps you, and eating healthy food like we talked about. And then just making sure that you also have a connection with your parents, which is very important. And sleeping. I think I've never slept less than 8 hours or 9 hours, because I can't go and teach students when I am sleepy and feeling angry and all that. There's mindfulness, where you also need to learn some of the techniques, breathing exercises, which is very important. And then some people keep journals to track how they feel. And then you also need to do, yes, we talked about regular exercises, which is very important for your mental health. Keeping a gratitude journal, just writing what you're grateful for every day. And also, yes, your friends, you need to keep them. And then learning to say no. Sometimes you are in so many things because you're not assertive, you're not able to say, no, what? I have enough, so now I can't get this done. And then the other thing that you can also do, sometimes you can go for therapy, and the psychologist can determine whether your depression or anxiety is severe and that you need medication or admission to the hospital. Because when you have severe depression, you need medication under observation of the psychiatrist. So the psychologist is able to tell you that now here, because of the severity, you need medication. But you see, you don't need to get there, so you have to do some of the things that we've talked about. Just balancing your work and life, and so that means even when you have a busy schedule, you get some few times, you can take a nap, you can do some exercises, talk to friends, visit your family. You are seeking professional help. Family therapy is very important, and so you can do family therapy with your children. And getting something to do. I think during COVID, people learned that they are good in baking. They can bake and sell mandazi and some of those chapati and all that. And so you can empower yourself economically, financially, and then always just screening, going to the psychologist, not because you have severe depression, because you just want to talk about some of the things that have happened. And so, like now, some of the churches, normally I go and talk about mental health and in a biblical perspective. And so people hear the word of God and also know what are some of the things that the biblical example. So this church is doing very well in that, integrating that, mental health and that. And then also issues of stigma and discrimination. Sometimes we discriminate when our neighbor has a child who has a mental problem, you discriminate them until it gets to you. That now you have an autistic child, you have a child who is hallucinating and all that. Then you realize how you are treating somebody else. So we need to be kind and compassionate to people because we also need the same support when we get ourselves into that problem. Just making sure that listening to some of the podcasts, sometimes also as a Christian, you might think you will not have mental problems. And Paul went through a lot. Paul in the Bible went through a lot. He was kidnapped. He was threatened. He was beaten. He was arrested. So many things ridiculous. But then he had an opportunity to write. Which book did Paul write? Rejoice in the Lord. Yeah. He had an opportunity to write the verse Philippians 4:4, rejoice in the Lord again. And he was going through a lot. And so you need to know that even as a Christian, you're not immune to mental problems. And there are so many other Bible verses in the Bible that you can do because God has promised that He's going to be near to the brokenhearted, and that is Psalms 34:18-19. We have John 14:27 that says that peace I leave with you. I think Angela has talked about that. My peace I give to you. I think the only peace that can calm you anxiety down is the peace of God. And then now I want everybody to read. I don't know if you can screen this. This is the last thing I'm done. For the first time, nimeongea muda kidogo. Isaiah, and now I think this is where you need to know that God is always with you, even when you are going through pain and turmoil and bitterness and anguish. Isaiah 40:28. 28. Are you able to read? Now, so we start. Who will guide us? Is it? I say what? So that we start. 1, 2, 3, go. Now 31. When there is a contrast in the Bible or anywhere, that is where you pay your attention. Hi, now read that one. Yes. God will always be with you. You know the ego, if you read the analogy of the ego, the ego is one of the birds in the Bible that has been used a lot because of some of the special characteristics. That when there is storm, that is when the ego flies high. And that is the turbulence, some of the challenges that you go through. You have broken marriage relationship, children have mental health problems and ABCD. And your in-laws are looking at you like that. And you are looking at them like this. And that is the storm. Yeah. But then the ego uses that opportunity to fly. It doesn't coil and hide like the other birds. Yeah, it goes higher. And that is what the Bible tells us today. Yeah, that God can still raise you. Even when, despite all the challenges, the mental problems, God will still be with you and fight with you and give you the strength that you need to fight. May God bless you and keep you. So, we have somebody here to help us. I think you can, yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful session. You know, I was telling guys before she came that I think all of us are mad, but we can deal with it. The level of madness we exercise here is a godly madness, which is acceptable. I will give two ladies an opportunity to ask a question. If you want to ask any other questions, you go see her and you will pay. 2 questions. Very quickly, if you're bold enough, just raise your hand or stand up. Thank you. And the next person, 2 opportunities, 2 questions. And everybody, you ask just 1 question, not 2 questions. Another hand? Okay, please stand, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. That was insightful, and we thank God that you came. My question is, when you sense someone has gone, like has changed the routine, the patterns, gone silent, what are some of the open-ended questions you can ask to bring the person closer to open up?
Like maybe a church member or a family member?
Anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they have withdrawn.
They have withdrawn. What kind of questions can you ask so that the person can open up?
Yeah, and I think it depends with the context where we are as friends. I think sometimes it's not good to just start, you've been so quiet, kwani umepotelea wapi, umeenda wapi? You don't start like that. I think it's good to just also want to find out, so how have you been? How are you doing? How are the children? You start from very far. If somebody has children, how is work? I saw you graduated recently. Which degree was that? You can bring things that are not really direct, like you ran away from us, you've been keeping quiet, you left. What is going on? Yeah. Sometimes we also fill in and say, kwani you got married, or you moved out of the country, or you don't suggest. When you want to engage your friend and explore and find out what is going on, you need to give them an opportunity to feel that you're actually warm and genuine in your interest in wanting to know what is going on in their life. It's not coming like you want to find some source of gossip and all that. So I think it would be good to find out, so how is everything? How is your mom? How is your dad? But then, you can't ask that if there is no relationship. So you must know that they have a family or a mother and all that. And so how are you doing as a person? How is it been at work? How is your family? How is your mom doing? And all that. So they will know that actually it's not, even now when you ask them, so what is going on? We've not seen you for some time. They wouldn't think that you just came because of that. They know that you actually care, honestly, because you've asked about how their life is and their parents and all that. So I think it's good to approach it from that part. Yeah.
Awesome. And the next.
So I think you will give her something?
Yes, but I didn't want to disclose
Okay, yes,
that.
yes, yeah, there's no disclosing.
You had a
What
question?
was the other question?
Oh, if no one is taking the mic, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Penina. Wonderful, well done. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you. So I was sitting here and I could hear you say people who move from one relationship to another, they do things quick. That could also be a sign of mental disturbance, right? Instability, let's call it that way. What about those like me, hallelujah, who take a long time, like you have moved from a relationship and then you take a long time before you get into another? How do you qualify that person? Is that stability? Still instability. You are sleeping over that situation.
Or for a long time. No,
Yeah.
it just means that you're taking time before you make a decision or you solve a problem, which I think sometimes when we are quick in making decisions, we regret. And so I think it's good to take your time, but then you also need to get to a point where you can give an opportunity and see how it is going. Yeah, but decision making, that is a decision making. And so you can take some time, but that style, when it is too long, it is some things can miss out. You can miss out on some of the things, but then it is not a disorder it's just a decision-making style. That you're taking some time, you're considering how you feel and many other factors before you get into another relationship.
Awesome. So thank you very much. I'll also give 3 people an opportunity to answer your questions. So 3 questions from you to the crowd.
Yeah. So, so let me ask. So who want to answer a question that I will ask? I want 3 people. 3.
3 people, run to the front. 3 people, very quickly. Just come. Ask the question, and then the first person to come answers. No. People are willing to, to
3
come,
people,
so they
okay.
came.
Yeah, so I will ask you, what was the term that Job used to describe how he was feeling? The term that Job used to describe how he was feeling and what he was going through.
Turmoil.
Yes. Okay. We've talked about a bird in Isaiah 40. A bird. Ndege. Yes, so we've talked about a bird in Isaiah. And when does it thrive the most? In which state?
When there's a storm.
Yeah. Okay. So, give me 2 mental problems that are common among women.
We said anxiety, and then another thing is also depression.
Good, yeah. You also wanted to answer something? You wanted to answer?
Yes.
Okay. It's okay. Yeah, so mention, it's okay, come. Yeah, so tell me 2 things that David went through to show that he was some of the mental problems that he was going through.
He went through grief, and his heart was downcast.
Yes.
So congratulations to all the ladies who participated. We had 5 books to give. I'll ask permission if we can get a 6th book, and then you'll give them out.
I think you can get the 6th book.
Okay.
Who is the 6th? You have children? Okay, that's a very not nice question. You have a child, an adolescent? Or you have children in general? You are a pastor, so any book can do for her. Yeah, because I wanted, if it is, you have an adolescent child, you can get the one for self-esteem. Yeah, okay, you can give for self-esteem. You can get, yeah. So I'm giving you this, and then for the rest, I've written 9 books, but I think the other copies, the other books were sold quickly, and so I didn't get an opportunity to print them. But I think these ones are here, and so if you need, I normally sell them 1,000. But today, if you want to buy, you can buy them at 500 shillings. So it's free. Thank you. Yeah, but these ones I will give these guys for answering my questions. So you will get this one. Which book do you want here? There is one of suicide, dysfunction of family, teenagers. 13? Parent-child relation problem. Thank you. So you can read this one because you are in a family. You can read some of the dysfunctional pattern in your family. Thank you. Yeah. And you? Yes, so this one, because self-esteem affects everybody. Yeah. So the others, you can buy them. So the rest, you can buy them. I have the copies here. Asante sana, thank you for giving me this opportunity.